All right, happy Friday and welcome to your Newsmax Daily for August the 1st, 2025. The first of 5 Fridays this month, which means today is International Beer Day, celebrating the process and craftsmanship of brewing beer, best celebrated with friends and beer, an annual event held on the first Friday of every August. And on the first Friday of every month, including today, the Labor Department releases the highly anticipated jobs report, or non-farm payroll report, which showed 73,000 jobs added to the economy in the month of July, much less than the 100,000 that analysts had expected. Today is also the Trump administration's tariff deadline, which I'm calling Liberation Day 2.0. President issued an executive order of sweeping tariff hikes for dozens and dozens of countries beginning next week, except for 25% tariffs on most Canadian goods effective today.
Well, they have to pay a fair rate. That's all. It's very simple. They have been charging very, very high tariffs to our farmers, some over 200%. And they've been treating our farmers very badly. They've been treating our country very badly for years.
Oh, and did you see former Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau may be dating Katy Perry, the astronaut? And here's the Democratic leader, Chuck Schumer, on the tariffs.
If there's one country that's benefited from all this chaos, it's China.
I don't think the Democrats even pay attention to him anymore. The stock markets are deep in the red, like everyone did know this was happening today, right?
We've sent out 17 letters to countries around the world. And the rest of those countries that either do not have a deal or have a letter, they will be hearing from this administration by the midnight deadline tonight.
That's Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt in yesterday's White House press briefing, which was carried live on Newsmax as always. She also said this in response to a question about the Russian collusion story.
Since you brought up the declassification report that was put out by Senator Grassley today, I'm glad you brought it up because this should be a story every outlet in this room should be covering. This is further evidence that Hillary Clinton approved the Russia hoax against President Trump. Her campaign financed it. Again, she approved it. And the FBI and the CIA were both weaponized to, as our director of CIA has said, accelerate this hoax against then candidate and former President Trump. To answer the heart of your question, the president wants to see justice served, and he trusts the Attorney General and the Department of Justice to implement that justice and hold these people accountable.
And with that, we go right to Newsmax host Rob Finnerty.
Good evening. Welcome back to Finnerty. Glad you're here. I'm Rob Finnerty, live from Washington, D.C. I'll tell you why in just a moment. Maybe you can guess. It turns out that Russia was so much bigger than we ever imagined. It turns out that Russia was orchestrated by Hillary Clinton and her campaign and Hillary herself. It was coordinated with media think tanks and the legacy media in the intel community to push Clinton over the finish line in 2016. It didn't work. But if Trump did win, they had a whole backup plan. They were going to pin this whole thing on Donald Trump, which is exactly what they ended up doing. Newly declassified documents released just today by the Senate Judiciary Committee expose a Hillary Clinton conspiracy, a Democrat conspiracy to fabricate the Russia collusion hoax and the carefully crafted lie that Russia helped Donald Trump win the 2016 election. It was always a lie. They did not. Why would they want Trump in the Oval Office and not Hillary? They know Hillary. They've known the Clintons for 35 years at that point. And to all of you who were mocked for years for supporting Donald Trump, you have been vindicated tonight. Here is Soros Foundation Senior Vice President Leonard Bernardo in an email writing to a Clinton advisor named Julia that, quote, it will be a long-term affair to demonize Putin and Trump. Now it is good for a post-convention bounce. Later, the FBI will put more oil on the fire. Hillary is hardly good-looking as far as credibility is concerned. In another email, a Soros Foundation vice president says, quote, Hillary approved Julia's idea about Trump and Russian hackers hampering in U.S. elections. That should distract people from her own missing emails. Think about that. And now think about everything you've been told by the media for the last decade, the last 10 years. And now we have what looks like direct evidence that Hillary Clinton's campaign And Hillary herself came up with the Russian collusion narrative from the start, and then Hillary rubber stamped it. Hillary approved of it in coordination with George Soros' Open Society, which really isn't that open, is it, George? And the reason? Well, Hillary Clinton was an absolutely horrible candidate and an even worse person. The email scandal was killing her campaign. Remember when she was asked about her private email server and those 30,000 plus emails that suddenly just disappeared?
That's all I can say. I'm not, I have no idea. That's why we turned it over.
You were in charge of it. You were the official in charge. Did you wipe the server?
What, like with a cloth or something?
I don't know.
Well,
you know
no.
how it works digitally. Did you try to wipe the whole server?
I don't know how it works digitally at all. I do not have any.
You did not try.
Ed, I know you want to make a point, and I can just repeat what I have said.
You know how it works, Hillary? You hit the delete button and the emails go away. By the way, most people won't delete 30,000 emails in a lifetime. Hillary did it in a couple of days. Hillary deleted that server, then joked about it in public, and when the media asked her questions, she mocked the media and got away with it. She said she wiped the server with a cloth. At the time, that was a big scandal, and Donald Trump was surging at that time in the polls, but nobody was talking about that. So the Clinton campaign needed to act, so they invented this lie.
Russia hacking the election to elect Trump is the end of our democracy. Votes were definitely affected. Russia hacked the election to tilt it to Mr. Trump.
The Russians definitively hacked the election.
Russia did hack the election.
No doubt. The Russians hacked the election.
Yes, Russia hacked the election.
President-elect Donald Trump still not sounding convinced that Russia hacked the election.
So after that, the legacy media, as you can see, they were all in. And that gave Hillary Clinton the cover that she needed to build her twisted little plot against Donald Trump.
This has come from the highest levels of the Russian government, clearly from Putin himself, in an effort, as 17 of our intelligence agencies have confirmed, to influence our election. He'd rather have a puppet as president of the United States.
No puppet.
And it's pretty clear.
You're the puppet.
It's pretty clear you won't admit that the Russians have engaged in cyber attacks. You are willing to spout the Putin line, sign up for his wish list, break up NATO, do whatever he wants to do, and that you continue to get help from him because he has a very clear favorite in this race.
People at that time said Donald Trump was hiding something. He was just like, what are you talking about? This is all a lie. And why won't anyone believe me? Well, we believe you now, Mr. President. That lie became the official position of the Democratic Party after that, and by extension, the official narrative of the U.S. government under Barack Obama, who was president when all that was happening. Remember that? Barack was in the Oval Office. It was a lie meant to tip the scales in Hillary's favor. And the funniest thing, this all didn't work. Donald Trump became president, and then he became president again. But it was a lie that every Democrat then wanted to believe. And it was a lie that was so powerful that millions of Americans today still believe it if you ask them. But tonight, you can go to sleep knowing that you were not crazy back then. And that even though all this never made any sense to you, you can go to bed tonight knowing that it was, in fact, all a lie. It was never true.
That's Rob Finnerty, 8 p.m. Eastern on Newsmax. The week started out with a lot of talk about the post from Deputy FBI Director Dan Bongino over the weekend, right? Last weekend, saying he was shocked to his core about what he had learned and that our republic cannot run like this, or we cannot run a republic like this. Is this what he was talking about? Or was that comment related to the missing minute of the Epstein prison video that now isn't missing anymore? To think that our government is really this corrupt, that so many of the conspiracy theories you've heard over time, not just this, but for decades, are actually not conspiracy theories at all. More from Chris Plante and the Right Squad.
Senator Chuck Grassley's release of the Obamagate documents also uncovers how the Obama-Biden administration responded to Hillary Clinton's campaign plan, nefarious, sinister plan. On August 3rd of 2016, CIA director who voted with, for his Communist Party ally, Gus Hall, in 1976, John Penitentiary Face Brennan, as his mother always called him, he briefed both President Obama and then Vice President Joseph Robinette at Biden about the Clinton plan, the sinister plan. Also in attendance were, surprise, surprise, FBI Director James Comey, who pulled a lot of fast ones down the line, and the Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, who said some ridiculous things under oath up on Capitol Hill, in addition to others. Now, Durham's annex, the special counsel report, the annex to the report also noting that the FBI was fully alerted to the possibility that at least some of the information it was receiving about the Trump campaign might have its origin either with the Clinton campaign or its supporters, or alternatively was the product of Russian disinformation. And I got to say, Jason, the Russian, I remember when the 51 intelligence people told us that Hunter Biden's laptop had all the earmarks of Russian disinformation. I covered the intelligence community for 10 years in this town, and they're running operations against the American people.
Well, the only thing that I would disagree with you on is what you said earlier, and that is that the FBI has been this revered organization for many generations. I would disagree with that. I don't think they've ever.
Concur. That's the only thing you disagree with?
I agree. I agree with you on that.
I think the FBI has been problematic for a very long time, if not from the very beginning.
Remember when they missed all the Boston bombers and the Pulse nightclub shooting?
You can go way further back, all the way.
You're talking about the cross-dressing FBI director from the old days.
There you go. And it has nothing to do with his cross-dressing. That's kink shaming. I'm just saying he had other things
I kink shame
that were really bad.
We're talking about J. Edgar Hoover, of course.
Yeah, J. Edgar Hoover. And I would say again that I think this is a distraction. I think it's a distraction from Epstein. I think that people want a lot of clarity, and all of a sudden they're not getting clarity on what it is they want clarity from. The other thing is we know that in terms of Michael Flynn and Don Jr. and Jared Kushner all met with Russians linked to the Kremlin, so there was reason to suspect that maybe there was some coordination there. Also, smear campaigns are not illegal. That's actually part of campaigning.
That's Democratic strategist Jason Nichols, a member of the Right Squad.
You are correct that none of it is illegal. And the fact is, because of the Supreme Court decision about Donald Trump, Barack Obama can never be touched with this, right? Because the fact is, this was under the purview of his official acts under the presidency. I don't think Hillary Clinton's going to go to jail over running a dirty ops campaign. Why it does matter, why it is a matter of public interest, why we're all talking about it during prime time, is that in order for the public to trust what the FBI says about Jeffrey Epstein, we need to clean house to make sure that we don't have the same people that were relying on CrowdStrike and the DNC to claim that Trump was bought and paid for by the Russians.
So you have Cash Patel and Dan Bongino, they're not cleaning house? They're not doing
this? Is part of it. This is part of cleaning house.
The irony in all of this is the fact that we're talking about Jeffrey Epstein. Oh, we can't look back to something in the 90s or, in the 90s. But, we're talking about something that happened in 2015 and into 2016. I mean, it's just completely remarkable to see. And all the folks that are talking about the Epstein files, we could have talked about this. I don't know. Joe Biden was in office. The Democrats had control of Congress. Merrick Garland was at the Justice Department. There was ample time to have done something with this. Jeffrey Epstein had long been dead. But now we're trying to make hay out of it because you suddenly care.
Chris Plante and the Right Squad, 10 p.m. Eastern on Newsmax. Check it out tonight. If you normally have to go to bed early and you don't get to see it, it's Friday night. Stay up a little later and check out the Right Squad as they wrap up another incredible week from Washington. Rob Schmitt also focused on the Hillary Clinton findings with former Trump attorney Alina Habba.
Alina Haba is the acting U.S. attorney for New Jersey and joins us now. Alina, good to have you back. Your reaction to what we're learning as this all continues to come out?
Glad that there's going to be transparency. That's obviously what this administration is about. We've been hearing about this for a very, very long time, and I think the American public wanted to know whether this was in fact true and what the extent of it is. Obviously, I work for the Department of Justice, and with an active investigation and things of this nature, I can't speak to the details, but I would refer you back to what we had said prior and what we had believed to be true, which now we are seeing. Thank you to ODNI, to Tulsi Gabbard and her team for giving the American people some visuals on what happened then.
Yeah, and Gabbard revealing that a whistleblower came forward saying that they were threatened to go along with the Obama-directed Russia hoax intelligence assessment, which, I mean, you're just starting to see all of this kind of come together. But, I mean, you got a whistleblower saying that they were threatened, that, to go along, because Obama ordered basically different intelligence, didn't like the idea that the belief was that Russia wasn't picking a side, that they were just screwing with an election, wanted a better version that was more politically palatable to what their aims were, and then they're threatening people to go along with it?
Yeah, that's not the way we run our country, and that's most certainly not the way this administration runs things. The Department of Justice is restoring faith intentionally, and I know that for the American people that can create frustration because they don't see and hear everything, but you have to be patient. We are looking, as Pam Bondi has said a million times over, and we will reveal things as we can, declassify things as we should and as is appropriate, but there are laws and there are rules. And if this turns out to be true, it's no question, as we are seeing all of these documents coming forth that they found, it's highly concerning for the American people and the integrity of our voting, the integrity of our elections, the integrity of our Constitution, and the way that the country is supposed to operate, what makes us different than third world countries.
Acting U.S. Attorney for New Jersey and former Trump attorney Alina Habba, who has been at the center of some controversial news herself recently.
You've had a pretty wild few weeks, and I want to talk about that for a second, moving away from this. You were appointed the acting U.S. Attorney for New Jersey a while back. The Democrat senators in your state basically blackballing you with this blue slip process, and then your replacement was nominated by these federal judges in your state that are all leaning one direction. We know that. That nomination, Trump immediately and the administration fires her. And then you get reappointed. Yeah. Do I have it right? And tell us how it's going.
Yeah, some language is a little bit tricky. I was the interim U.S. attorney, and then I was made the nominee, the president's pick for the U.S. attorney for New Jersey. And there is this tradition, and it is being used, frankly, inappropriately, which is that the home senators get the courtesy of a blue slip tradition so that you can then go through the vetting process in front of Senate, in which case Cory Booker and Andy Kim could have voted no, right? That doesn't mean it's a yes to say you go in front of Senate. It means it's a courtesy. It's not a law. They have abused it. We're seeing it all over the country right now. In New York, we're seeing it in California. We're seeing it in New Jersey. We're seeing it across the board, and the president truthed about it. It's incredibly concerning. Now, I would like to say for my particular instance, I have never once spoken to Cory Booker or Andy Kim. They have not so much as entertained a meeting with me, although I asked numerous times. I've never met Hakeem Jeffries, and that is not the way we're supposed to work. It should not matter what your politics are, because this is truly the evidence of political, we're seeing Cory Booker get up and screaming at his party that we need to not bend a knee. The Department of Justice has nothing to do with politics. What we have to do with is justice, is law and order. So using a process like this, politicizing it, it's wrong. And the president has the right, as does Pam Bondi, to pick the U.S. attorneys for every state. Obviously, elections have consequences. And, whatever the hits that I've taken over the last few weeks, I'm honestly proud to be sitting in this seat. Yes, I am the acting U.S. attorney. And no, the judges at that point did not have any rights to try and oust me. I was not even expired in my term yet, actually. So it was a strange set of facts, but.
Yeah. Dirty politics in a blue state that's turning more and more purple and maybe red at some point. The state of New Jersey is getting more conservative by the day as the politics change. So,
Rob Schmitt with Alina Habba, who says New Jersey Senators Cory Booker and Andy Kim never even entertained a meeting with her or even spoke with her. Think about it. You're a senator of whatever state, and the president of the United States designates an attorney as your state's acting attorney, and you don't speak with that person, even in a phone call. This is what really irks me. Everything has become so politicized, and it's really at the detriment or to the detriment of the people, right? Let's shift gears to what's happening overseas. U.S. Special Envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, is in Israel today to discuss the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Witkoff and U.S. Ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, visiting Gaza to assess the conditions there, inspect food distribution, and speak with residents about what's happening on the ground. Then they're also meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and will report back to President Trump. Newsmax spoke about this and other news with Senator Steve Daines of Montana.
The senator from Montana, Steve Daines, sits on the Senate Finance and Foreign Relations Committees. Senator, thank you. This is a very heavy topic. Obviously, you're talking about the hunger crisis in Gaza and those that reside. But what do you make of this move altogether with the UK, with Britain, with France, and now with Canada stepping up to recognize Palestinian statehood? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, I thank God for President Trump's moral clarity in this terrible situation. Let's not forget, why are we here at this moment? This started on October 7th when Hamas launched the barbaric attack, a terror attack on Israel. It was a barbaric attack, innocent Israelis slaughtered. Why isn't Canada, the UK, France calling first and foremost for the release of these innocent hostages? That is step one. Step two is calling for a ceasefire to stop Hamas from blocking the food aid, because that is the problem. The problem is not Israel. The problem is Hamas. They began this terrible conflict via a terror attack. And for Canada and the UK and France to suggest a two-state solution is the answer at this moment, it rewards Hamas and their atrocities.
I want to get your final thoughts on this as our time winds down with you. Former Vice President Kamala Harris saying after, quote, deep reflection, she will not run for California governor in 2026, as previously rumored. But Harris not closing the door on a possible White House run in 2028. Your reaction here on Harris's decision to not run for governor of California? And do you believe maybe she has higher aspirations yet again, Senator?
Well, I wasn't sure that Kamala Harris has a capacity to have a deep reflection, but so be it. Thank God she's not running for governor of California. But if she decides to run for president of the United States, I'd say bring it on. I think she would be a very weak candidate. The American people saw through who she is, her radical views, combined with, frankly, her shallow processing of facts and information. So if she decides to run for president in 28, I think that'd be a wonderful thing, because we would soundly beat her with one of our great candidates.
That's Montana Senator Steve Daines, a member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee on Newsmax's National Report. Yesterday, I said that Kamala probably wasn't running for governor of California, meaning she would probably be running for president again. Then we found out that she may not be running for governor because she'll be busy with a book tour, which may end even faster than her presidential campaign, which is actually what the book is about. This is not a children's book or a partially plagiarized book, at least that we know of, like some of her others. This is a memoir about her short presidential campaign and losing the race. And why would anybody want to read that? Even if you're a Kamala fan, it's like, oh, I did so bad, I'm going to write a book about it. If you follow me on X, @radio_Marino, I mentioned yesterday who paid her and why would they pay her to write the book. All right, Senator Josh Hawley, who I mentioned the other day, introduced legislation for tariff rebate checks. Remember that, to Americans? Yesterday, Hawley introduced legislation that would make rules on congressional stock trades even stricter than they are, because they're not that strict. Of course, most of the Senate didn't like that. And wrestling fans know that that was Triple H standing next to President Trump at yesterday's executive order signing for the school fitness program.
From the late 1950s until the 2013, graduate scholars all across our country competed against each other in the presidential fitness test, and it was a big deal. This was a wonderful tradition, and we're bringing it back.
And Florida Governor Ron DeSantis issued a memorandum yesterday designating today, August 1st, as Hulk Hogan Day in Florida. DeSantis called for flags at the state capitol in Tallahassee and in Pinellas County, where Hogan, Terry Bollea, lived, to be flown at half-staff. DeSantis noting that even though Hogan was born in Georgia, he moved to Tampa at a very young age and lived there pretty much his entire life, calling him a great Floridian. On Wall Street, as I mentioned, stocks are in the red. The Dow Jones Industrial Average opening down nearly 400 points on the weaker than expected jobs report and all the tariffs. Amazon delivered disappointing earnings after the closing bell yesterday. The stock immediately started heading south today, along with a lot of others. Private equity firm Annex Partners is buying 119 JCPenney stores for $947 million. I don't know how they come up with that number, in a deal that will allow the bankrupt retailer to continue operations in those stores. 119 JCPenney stores will now be controlled by Annex Partners. Bitcoin and most other major cryptocurrencies also lower this morning. Bitcoin down more than $1,000, back to $116,000. Ethereum back below $3,700. Be sure to keep up with all of today's news and breaking developments. There will be plenty of them throughout the day and the weekend on Newsmax, N2, and at Newsmax.com. Don't forget the news starts each and every morning with Wake Up America, including Wake Up America Weekend Edition, National Report, Newsline, Chris Salcedo, Rob Schmitt, Finnerty, Greg Kelly reports, Saturday and Sunday report, Sunday Agenda, America Right Now, The Savage Nation on Sunday night, and much, much more. So check it out. You have some time on the weekend. And as always, I thank you for your time listening to the Newsmax Daily Podcast. I'm Tony Marino. I appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Have a fantastic weekend doing whatever it is you like to do. Be safe and keep on fighting the good fight.
News breaks every minute, every day. You need the app, the Newsmax app. Find it free on your smartphone store. Then watch us anytime, anywhere.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.